So now we turn to the next topic. It's EIT and the Swedish innovation system. So I invite 4 panelists to come up. Charlotte Brogren from Vinnova, Sten Nordin, Mayor of Stockholm, Johansson from EIT European, and Mikael Rantil from Swedish Energy Agency.
Madam Commissioner, great to have you here. We all heard about the challenges and the opportunities that the industry are facing, and in order to secure or really be able to address this, I think that we have to address 2 weaknesses that we have both in Europe as well as on the national level in Sweden. And the first one is fragmentation. And the second one is that we often have on a policy level a very unproductive differentiation between basic research and applied research, when both of them actually should be gained by working together and not divide them as we often do. I'm representing Vinnova, which is the Swedish Innovation Agency, and our aim is really to connect academic research to needs in society, transferring knowledge into something that brings value both for the private sector as well as for the public sector. And what we have learned from the 10 years that we have existed is that the best environments, both from the academic scientific perspective as well as from gaining really good results for society, is the environments where you are combining both excellent research, both innovation, as well as education. And when these 3 disciplines actually are integrated and working together, enriches each other, that's where you get the most result of the money that we are invested. We are today very involved in the present KICs, and we have really seen this as great opportunities to gather the strengths of Sweden, both on the national level and now also being part of a larger European network. And we are looking forward to the future calls here, and we will do our best to make sure that Sweden also are very well represented here in the KICs coming within Horizon 2020. We need more of this, both on the Swedish side as well as on the European side, because the entrepreneurial spirit, making business out of knowledge, the focus on clear and measurable targets, coupling education and the inclusion of creative students, these are really true inspirations for development of innovation system within Sweden as well as in the rest of Europe. This initiative, EIT KICs, has had good support from Vinnova, and we will continue to support it also as we go forward.
Then I invite Sten Nordin, Mayor of Stockholm.
Thank you very much, Madam Commissioner. I first would very much thank you for focus on the importance of cooperation with the local level, also when it comes to innovation and growth. But of course, the city of Stockholm, as all the other cities in Europe, I dare say, we take more and more responsibility for the broader development of the cities, of the economy, innovation, and for the future. And also we have a special responsibility together with our fundamental responsibility of social welfare and providing our citizens with good services, which is, of course, the most important thing we do, but also to develop our cities in a sustainable way. I think that's the responsibility for the cities are and must be growing. And in that perspective, it's necessary for us to cooperate with the universities and with the companies, with the private companies. And in Stockholm, we have very much experiences, good experiences from such cooperation. And the city, our philosophy, I dare say, is to use our basic responsibility to develop the city, to use that as a platform for cooperation with the universities and the private companies to develop new technology, for example, when it comes to environmental technology, to build sustainability. And it was a very easy decision for me and for the city to support the idea of IoT and the KICs, because this gives, I mean, the fundamental idea is the cooperation, private and public cooperation, which is very important, I think. It's flexibility, it's the long-term perspective, which is very, very important. And of course, I think that we can take these projects to a very practical level. I mean, when it comes to energy, which we were discussing here before, this is one of the most important things for us to create new city districts which don't have so much energy waste, if I dare say so. I mean, I think that about 40% of our consumption of energy comes from residents. So I think that is one of the most important way, both when we are building new ones, but Stockholm, as other European cities, we have our post-war residential areas built very fastly and not very economically and sustainable when it comes to the energy consumption. Just to give one practical example of how important this is for the city. And of course, innovation and growth is part of the coming welfare of the city and of the country. I mean, our chance to compete with the rest of the world, it's knowledge, is to have a well-educated population, and we have, but we have to take that more step to the future. The city of Stockholm has adopted a vision 2030 of a world-class city. And in that vision we have several parts, but one of the parts are to be innovative and growing. And I think that the cooperation with the EU level, with initiatives like EIT is very important to fulfill that vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then I invite Mr. Johansson, MEP, and he will bring us into the European picture on policy, I think.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Commissioner and colleagues from the European Parliament and ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to say my background is that I have been the regional minister for research and development in west part of Sweden, and sometimes Sten Nordin, the mayor, we are very good friends. We are in national authorities together. But sometimes you have the competition between Madrid and Barcelona and Lisbon and Porto. And I will also take up that question because I think that we should have a competition in Europe, but we can also be complementary to each other. And the subject for me is to find from Swedish to European innovation policy. In the end, I will say we should have a Swedish and a European policy. They should be integrated to each other. That's my main address to you. And because now I think that we still see the systems as systems between at a European level and between 27 member states. And I think that we should come to one joint discussion about that. See us as a Europe of 500 million inhabitants and citizens, well educated and a united market to compete on. And then EIT is a good way where you can combine research and education. But I think also when we come to cohesion policy, because that's a very important policy system. And if I take the example there in the west part, the region of Västra Götaland, which is my background, we have one of the highest figures for private investment in research and development. But we are also, as a region, in the cohesion policy system. And for us, not, I say as you did from the company, for our region, it's not the money that is important. That is that we can go into a European system where we have the same policy-making system. And then I think companies, we are in a global competition. universities are in a global competition, but also regions and local authorities are in that kind of. And I think that's very important when I go back to my experience, that we must also have a policy-making system that we can compete in the world with that. For example, in Stockholm, it's the city of Stockholm together with national authorities. In our part of Sweden, it's the region together with national authorities and Europeans. So already in Sweden, you have different systems. So I think we should, when we talk about the future for policy, we should have some kind of multi-governance system, because I think that it's important. And then have the combination of, as I said, EIT, you have education and research, but you should also try to find the systems of cohesion and research and innovation system. And I think not just for the money, but for having the way to having that. And then I think also, sometimes we mention the word Europe first, and I think that we should use Europe first in the right way, because then I think it's important to have a very open attitude when you talk about Europe first, because I think that's important now when we have the policy systems, that it will be open systems so that we can compete in a global competition. Also, the way we build the policy systems. And then I also think, to conclude with that, I think it's important to have a discussion, because both when we are talking about Horizon 2020 and we are talking about the KICs, we are talking about excellence. And I think it's very important that we have a future-orientated discussion about excellence. I'm pro the definition of excellence. This should be excellence, but I think what will be the right combination of excellence according to research and innovation, and what is the right mixture of that, and also policy systems. So I think that is an important discussion. So I conclude with saying I hope that we will be able to have, and I of course can agree very much with the Minister Lööf said about, it's also a thing about synergies and timing. And just now, I think that the Swedish system, we are, if I say that, preparing regional innovation strategies, at the same time a national innovation strategy, and combine that with the European discussion. And I think that's a good example of synergy and timing. So that's my conclusion. I think that we should go from Swedish to European innovation policy. That we in the future should talk about the Swedish and the European innovation policy at the same time, and have the synergies and timing. And I hope that the rest of Europe also will have that kind of synergies and timing. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I invite Mikael Rantel from the Swedish Energy Agency, one of the major contributors to research in energy.
Thank you, Bo. Madam Commissioner, members of Parliament and colleagues. The Swedish Energy Agency is a governmental agency responsible for financing research, development, demonstration and innovation in the non-nuclear field. And the aim of our work is to contribute to a more sustainable energy system in the near and longer future. Our support is rather market-oriented. Less than 10% of the funding is used for basic research, and the rest for more applied research, development, prototype activities, and so on. And in addition, we finance business development and other innovation-related activities. And very important activities for us is to build up the scientific knowledge in the universities and in the industry. Universities therefore receive some 40% of our budget, which estimates to some 100 million euro per year. The planning of the activity we're carrying out is done in close collaboration with the Swedish industry. We also have a long tradition of encouraging the the collaboration between industry and university in our projects. Today, the industry co-funds R&D work to the same amount as our own budget. So, and some of that co-funded money is also allocated to the universities. Smart grid is one of our most prioritized areas. Sweden has a strong academic resource in the area, but also strong industry. Already in 1995, several competence centers were financed in areas vital for the Swedish industry, and one of them was the Swedish Center for Excellence in Electrical Power Engineering at the Royal Institute of Technology. And that has now got another project together where the Royal Institute of Technology together with Uppsala formed the basis of the KIC Energy. The importance of this field, smart grid, is also underlined by the fact that the Swedish government has allocated extra grant to a consortium of researchers from different groups and disciplines, from different universities who will work with the renewable energy technologies in the power sector and grids, and that project is called Stand Up. The international work is very important for a small country like Sweden. Thus, we are very active in international collaboration. We are a leading participant in International Energy Agency work on smart grids. But more important, we have very ambitious plans for EU collaboration, for the EU collaboration. We regard energy as one very important activity. But there are other activities such as the European Strategic Energy Technology Plan, which also for us have a high priority. We are taking part in the industrial initiative on smart grid and smart cities, and we think that these projects can be working well together with the energy project. So we expect that our involvement in European activities will grow in the future, and we are committed to support such activities and coordinate them with our national activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A short, because you touched upon here this interaction with other programs within EU. Is there anyone else that would like to comment in this topic? Mikael, you've made some comments that you want to comment it further, or maybe Charlotte could, from your point of view.
Yeah, as I said, I think one of the weaknesses that we have in Europe as well as in Sweden is that we have too much fragmentation. We are not utilizing our resources in the best way, and we need to get them more in line and share some common targets, visions, and goals. And then I'm sure that I'm not looking for a big reorganization of Europe, because I don't think that will be sustainable or productive. But if we share some more clear targets, some more visions, some more defined goals, then I'm quite sure that we actually can pull our resources together in a much more productive way, so that we both can increase our scientific skills as well as helping our industry to stay competitive and even increase the competitiveness.
Well, I can just add that we think it's important that somehow the work on smart grids in the different areas within the European Union programs are somehow coordinated. That's important, so that the one activity knows what the other activity is doing.
Johansson?
I want to make that comment because I think it's very good that, as the representative from the companies did in the former panel, that you are very clear saying that it's not just the money, it's to be in this kind of open systems. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very important message to policymakers and to national governments, because sometimes it's in the end, it's the Minister of Budget who discuss some of the EU policies. And then they do that according to if they are cheap or expensive. But I think it's very important that you, as from this kind of global companies, who knows the competition between different companies, will be very clear, because then we can use the European cooperation of 500 million inhabitants, both as a market but also as a system. So I think it was a very good, and I think it's very good that you are as clear as you were in the panel here to national ministers and also to the discussion at the European level. Because sometimes we as policy makers, we sometimes think that the less of systems, the happier you are from the companies. But here it's very important that you also support this way of discussion as you did in the panel before this.
Yes, thank you. We realize that one of the big challenges that we have to face is fragmentation. That is why we believe that we need a critical mass in order to have a world impact. There is an argument, though, that we have budget needs. This is a problem now. But provided that the budget that we are proposing is adopted, would you say that it is better to keep to the minimum kicks, like we are suggesting another 6 kicks up to 2020? Some argue that it is better to have more kicks but smaller. What do you think it is the best system?
Charlotte?
I don't know. What I think is we need to have dare to try, learn, and then we should scale up activities that works, and then we should downsize activities that doesn't work. I don't think that anyone has the answer about exactly how many, what size, etc. And that probably differs very much from one area to another. If you take energy and ICT, they are very, very broad and on a very systemic level. And then you probably need to have larger size, etc. But if you take certain other areas, you can probably do it on a smaller level. So I don't think that there will be one model that fits all the challenges that we are facing.
But if you consider the fact that we choose the themes for the kicks, depending on the European societal challenges.
Yeah.
So it's not just a challenge that applies in 1 or 2 countries, it's general European.
These 6 themes that I've seen, I think they fit very well to the needs and challenges that we have in front of us. Then the matter of size, that often is but hopefully that these will bring positive, so that they actually can connect to other activities that are happening within each nation as well as on a European level. So these are really nodes that can get things more together, sharing some common goals.
Sorry, I have to brief, but one comment from Mr. Coman.
Yeah. Maybe not asking a question, but answering also the question you've been raising from my point of view. Quickly, I really see that this is a great start with the first 3 kicks, but we should also see that these other 6 topics we are mentioning in our SIA document, they are interconnected. For example, food for people, you cannot see without the problem of creating enough energy or grids and so forth. Or if you take the entire healthcare sector out, or manufacturing, or modern cities. So I guess what I want to say is, if you really see the EIT in helping to, so to say, seed innovation in Europe in a more European, pan-European setting, we have to have at least a sufficient large number of kicks. Also, and I think it's nice what you have been stating, we may learn that some kicks work better and others do not work so good. And I think we have to diversify our risk also. This is what I see as an important contribution to this in establishing these future kicks.
Okay, 2 extremely short final remarks.
I think that this takes very much resources and need very much resources, and the City of Europe will support you when it comes to that discussion, I promise. And I think that, as you said, Commissioner, it's very important, I think, that the KICS, it's relevant for the European level, because then we can cooperate and exchange experiences and to support this together. So I think that's rather good when the KICS are good for the whole level, yes.
Because we are having this discussion in the Parliament about how many KICS, how they should start, because they are discussed according to the societal challenges. But I think it's important also here from the business and industrial discussion to see, because sometimes I think this is a political discussion to say who of those societal challenges should be first and on the second, because all are very important just now. And if it's possible to have a big kick for whole Europe, I think that would be very good. But I think this will be one of the important discussions. And it's also important then to have the view from universities, research institutes, and industry, why we should have 3 later than the others.
Thank you. I thank the panel. Some of you will probably have opportunities tonight also to explore your ideas. But thank you very much.